In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to form a quadratic equation from two given roots. So the idea is that these two given roots can be expressed as alpha and beta. So one root would be alpha and the other is beta. So there is a structure in which quadratic equations take in terms of alpha and beta. Basically, when we're talking about roots, and it is x squared minus x into brackets the sum of the roots, which is alpha plus beta, plus the product of the roots, which is alpha beta, and this would be equal to 0. Alright, so whenever you're asked to construct an equation or form an equation or write an equation, whatever it is that you're told to do, just have this at the back of your mind, because this would be the basis in which we would carry out our solvings. So remember, I said that one root would be alpha and the other is beta. So now we need to find this. We need to find the sum of the roots, which is alpha plus beta, and we need to find this, which is alpha beta. Alright, so for alpha plus beta, all we'll simply do is add this and this, because remember, alpha is one of the roots and beta is one of the roots. So we'll simply add this together. So root 2 plus 1, alright, then plus root 2 minus 1. Okay, so 1 minus 1 is 0, so that cancels out. Root 2 plus root 2 would be 2 root 2. So it means the sum of our roots is 2 root 2. Okay, so we have this here. So let's do the product. Alright, for the product we have alpha multiplied by beta. So what we would simply do is multiply this one and this one. So that would be root 2 plus 1. We can put it in bracket into root 2 minus 1. You can put this in bracket as well. Okay, so root 2 multiplied by root 2 will be 2. Root 2 multiplied by negative 1 will be negative root 2. 1 multiplied by root 2 will be positive root 2. Then negative 1 multiplied by positive 1 would be negative 1. So root 2 minus root 2 plus root 2 cancels out. So 2 minus 1 would be 1. Alright, so it means this is the product of our roots. So remember, this is the sum and this is the product. So if we wanted to write this out, we could write it here. So we will have x squared. Remember, this is minus x multiplied by the sum of our roots, which is 2 root 2. That will be minus x. We can put it in brackets, multiplied by 2 root 2 plus 1. Alright, which is the product of our roots, equal to 0. So if we wanted to write this properly, we would write x squared minus 2 root 2x. So we're just multiplying this by this. That's all we're doing. Alright, then plus 1 equal to 0. So that's how you solve questions like this. Alright, so we'll do one more question, but that one will be a little bit tedious, or at least more tasking than this one. Okay, so we have this question. It says find the quadratic equation whose roots are alpha plus 2 over beta and beta plus 2 over alpha, where alpha and beta are the roots of the equation 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. So we need to find the quadratic equation. We need to form a quadratic equation from these given roots. So don't fret because of the alpha and the beta. It's still the same process. Alright, just make sure that you have this structure in your head, the structure of quadratic equations, which is x squared minus x into the sum of roots, which is alpha plus beta, then plus your product of roots, which is alpha beta. Alright, and this is equal to 0. So we're going to find the unknowns, which is the sum of the roots, alpha plus beta, and the product of the roots, alpha beta. So for alpha plus beta, we're simply going to add this and this together, because remember, each root one root represents alpha while the other represents beta. Now it doesn't really matter which one represents alpha, because you add and you multiply, so it really doesn't matter. All you need to know is that you would add these, then you multiply these. So let's do that. So for alpha plus beta, this is going to be alpha plus 2 over beta plus 2 over alpha. Now you will notice that this question, like I said before, has alpha and beta, whereas the first question did not. So the reason, or the way we're going to be able to change this from alpha to beta to actual numbers, is by using these numbers that we have here. That's these numbers in the equation that we have here. Okay, so for alpha plus beta, there's a formula for it. Now alpha plus beta is negative b over a. Okay, then for alpha beta, as alpha multiplied by beta, we have c over a. So you might ask, what exactly is b, what exactly is a, and what exactly is c? Well, remember this equation that we have here. Let's take this out. So this equation that we have here, 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. Well, 2 represents a, negative 3 represents b, and 1 represents c. Okay, now notice how I carried the signs with it. 2 represents a, negative 3, not 3. Negative 3 represents b, and positive 1 represents c. Okay, it's as simple as that. Meaning that if we want to find alpha plus beta, we're simply going to do minus b over a. And that would be minus 3 divided by 2. We'll do that in a second. And c over a would be 1 over 2. That kind of a thing. Okay, so now let's collect the like terms that we have over here. So we're going to have alpha plus beta. Then we'll bring this together. So that will be plus 2 over beta plus 2 over alpha. So now you see that we have alpha plus beta. So now let's simply convert this to what it actually is. So minus b over a. So what is our b? If we look here, our b is negative 3. And we have a minus sign here. So that will be minus, open brackets, negative 3. That's for your b. Then what's your a? Your a is 2. So this is over 2. Okay, so we have this sorted out. Now, we can't really look at this and pick out anything from this. So it means we still need to simplify this further. Okay, so let's factorize 2 from this. So if we bring out 2, this would be 1 over beta plus 1 over alpha. Okay, so now let's carry on. So now we can open this out. So this would simply be 3 over 2 plus 2. So now let's solve this. Okay, so let's find the LCM. The LCM of beta and alpha will be alpha beta or beta alpha, however it is you wanted to write it. Then if you take this, can go in this, and we'll have just alpha and we'll have beta here. So if you notice, if you look at this, alpha plus beta is what we have here, and alpha beta is what we have in the denominator. So you can see that we can carry through with this. So we have 3 over 2 plus 2. We can open this out. So alpha plus beta, remember we already solved alpha plus beta here, and alpha plus beta is 3 over 2. So we have 3 over 2 over here divided by alpha beta. What's our alpha beta? C over a. So what's our c? Our c is 1 and our a is 2. So it means that alpha beta is 1 over 2. Okay, so if we punch this into our calculator, we're going to have 15 over 2. Okay, that's going to be our answer, 15 over 2. So we're done with the first part. Now remember, this was us finding the sum of the roots, which is just alpha plus beta. That's all we've done, is add this and this together, and it gave us 15 over 2. So let's go over to the next one, which is multiplying this. That's the product of the roots alpha and beta. So by the time we find the product, multiplying this and this, then we can write the proper equation or form the actual quadratic equation. So let's do that. So now plus 2 alpha, so we can put this in brackets. All right, so let's multiply this. So now alpha multiplied by beta, that will give us alpha beta 2, then alpha multiplied by 2 over alpha. Well, alpha will cancel alpha, so that will be plus 2. 2 over beta multiplied by beta, beta will cancel beta, that's plus 2. Multiplied by 2 over alpha is going to be 4 over alpha beta. Alright, so this is what we have. So now we have this, and this looks similar to what we have here. We have alpha beta here. So now remember, alpha beta is c over a. Alright, and c is 1 and our a is 2. So c over a is going to, so alpha beta is going to be 1 over 2. So we have 1 over 2 plus 2 plus 2. We could have written plus 4, but it doesn't really matter. Plus 4 over, remember alpha beta is 1 over 2. So we have 1 over 2. So if we punch this into our calculator, we're going to have 25 over 2. Okay, so now remember, our sum of roots was 15 over 2. If you can't remember, you can just rewind the video to check. But our sum of roots was 15 over 2, and our product of roots is 25 over 2. So let's write it down. So now we have x squared minus x. Remember, our sum of roots is 15 over 2. So we have 15 over 2 here. Then our product of roots is 25 over 2. So we just have 25 over 2 here. Okay? And this is equal to 0. So now we don't want to have fractions. Okay? We don't want to have fractions if possible. So what we're going to do is multiply through by 2 to take away these fractions. So we'll multiply every single thing here by 2 and the fractions will disappear. So if we multiply x squared by 2, we're going to have 2x squared. If you multiply this bit by 2, you're going to have minus 15x because the 2 is gone. The 2 has been cancelled out. Alright, if you multiply 2 by this, you would have plus 25. Alright, and this would be equal to 0. So you have this. Alright, so we have successfully formed a quadratic equation from this. Alright, if there's anything you don't understand, you can always rewind the video or you can ask in the comment section. See you in the next video.